Testing, 1, 2. Been writing to your inbox for some time. Now a new thread, a different paradigm. Swapping careful words for a spoken thought. Hope this little transition means a lot. It's just my voice now. Just my voice now.
Hello, dashboard detectives, Power BI survivors, spreadsheet warriors, and everyone who's ever refreshed the report in their lifetime only to immediately whisper, "Well, that's new." Welcome back to Behind the Workflow, the podcast where we pull back the curtain on business operations, laugh at the wonderfully weird world behind the dashboards, behind the reporting, behind the data, and celebrate the people who somehow keep everything running, even when the software is actively testing their patience. I'm Melissa, business operations professional, workflow detective, recovering spreadsheet therapist, and someone who's learned that the three most terrifying words in business operations are, "It worked yesterday," because, let's be honest, Those those three words have started more investigations than actual crimes. But before we dive any deeper, let's go to our corporate confession number 8. Let's start with the confession. Have you ever been in a meeting? Someone opens a dashboard, everything is blank. Everyone slowly turns and looks directly at you, like somehow you personally offended Power BI overnight. Someone always says, "It worked yesterday." Another person says, "Nothing changed." When I heard those words, I immediately knew someone definitely changed something. They just didn't want to admit it. Um, let's go to the DAX interrogation room. So imagine Jack sitting in an interrogation room, single light bulb, metal table, one chair across from Dax, a detective carrying yesterday's report. The detective slams the report on the table. "We know it worked yesterday." Dax calmly folds his arms and says, "Yesterday is irrelevant." The detective blinks. "What?" Dax leaned forward. "What filters are we using today?" The detective sighs. "We're asking the questions here." Dax smiles. "No, you're asking the incomplete questions." The detective tries again. "How many customers do we have?" Dax raises an eyebrow. "In total? In marketing this year? Only active customers? Customers visible under the current filter context?" The detective stares. "Just customers." Dax writes something in his notebook. Subject refuses to define requirements. "It worked yesterday." The detective pulls out another report. "Yesterday. This measure returned 14,000. Today, it's blank." "What happened?" Dax looks confused as he scratches his head. "Did someone change the filters?" The detective says, "I don't know." "Did someone add a splicer?" The detective says again, "I don't know." "Did someone rename a column?" The third time, the detective says, "I don't know." Did someone delete relationships? Once again, the detective says, I don't know. And Dax shrugs. I can only answer the question you actually asked. Then Power Query walks in. The interrogation room door opens. Power Query walks in with coffee in his hand, looking like he hasn't slept since Excel 2013. The detective says, Can you tell us what happened? Power Query opens the source file, immediately sighs. Oh, I found it. Everyone leans forward. There are 3 different spellings of the same customer. The dates are in 4 different formats. Someone entered last Tuesday instead of an actual date. And there are 17 blank rows for emotional support. Power Query closes his laptop. This isn't a DAX problem. This is a people problem, for crying out loud. DAX isn't mean. It's literal. One thing I've eventually learned after years in operations was that DAX isn't trying to confuse you. It's incredibly literal. Imagine asking someone how many people came to the company picnic, and they responded, Which picnic? The summer picnic? The holiday picnic? The planning meeting about the picnic? The canceled picnic because it rained? That's DAX. It's not being difficult. It's trying to avoid answering the wrong question. Unfortunately, this it does, while making you question your intelligence. Meet context. If you ever watched a detective show, you'll understand context. Imagine someone says, We found fingerprints. That sounds important until someone asks, Fingerprints? Where? Now the answer changes. On the coffee mug? On the safe? On the getaway car? Context changes everything. DAX works the same way. It isn't just calculating numbers, it's constantly asking, what exactly are we looking at? Who? When? Where? What filters? What relationships? And which table? Basically, Dax is the coworker who answers every question with 6 follow-up questions. Then Calculate shows up. Now let's talk about Calculate, or as I like to call it, the middle manager of Power BI. Calculate walks in to every meeting saying, Okay, everyone, we're changing the rules. Filters, different now. Context, different now. Totals, different now. Nobody asked for a meeting, but somehow Calculate scheduled one anyway. Calculate kind of reminds me of that manager who says, I know you've been doing it this way for years, but starting today, we're doing things differently. The data just quietly sighs. Here we go again. Throughout my career in business operations, I've built dashboards for leadership, marketing, projects, CRM reports, event registrations, and operational reporting. People usually thought my job was just building dashboards. It wasn't. Most of the time, we spent figuring out why yesterday's report suddenly looked like a volcano erupted. Sometimes it really was a formula. But honestly, most of the time the report was innocent, the data had changed. Someone entered a customer differently. Someone added duplicate records. Someone filtered the page. Someone renamed a department, and suddenly everyone blamed the dashboard. Poor dashboard. It was just standing there doing the math. This is the real villain. Here's something operations teaches you. When someone tells you the dashboard is wrong, the dashboard usually isn't wrong. It's simply the messenger, the person. It's like yelling at your GPS because you missed the exit. The GPS is just sitting there thinking, I literally told you 3 times. The report can only calculate what it's given. Garbage in, garbage out, only now it's colorful. Final thoughts on this. One lesson has stayed with me throughout my career. Reports don't suddenly stop working. Something changes. Maybe the data, maybe the filters, maybe the relationships, maybe someone cleaned up the spreadsheet. And if you worked in operations long enough, you know those words should always make you nervous. I cleaned it up. What do you mean you cleaned it up? The more I learned about DAX, the less it felt like programming and the more it felt like interviewing witnesses. Everyone tells a part of the story. The filters tell one version, the relationships tell another, the data tells another. Your job is figuring out who is telling the truth. So before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. What is the smallest thing that's ever broken one of your reports? An extra space, a hidden filter, one missing parentheses, a coworker who confidently said, "Don't worry, I only changed one little thing." Tell me your story. I have a feeling we're all carrying some trauma, some reporting trauma. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Behind the Workflow. If today's episode made you laugh or reminded you of that report you've been avoiding all week, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the coworker who still says nothing changed. Until next time, remember, if DAX starts asking questions, don't panic. It's not gaslighting you, it's just making sure you asked the right one. Till next time.
Testing 1 2. Been writing to your inbox for some time. Now a new thread, a different paradigm. Swapping careful words for a spoken thought. Hope this little transition means a lot. It's just my voice now,